else has some different programs that they're working on here in the community? John?
Well, I'm with the Board of Developmental Disabilities, and one of the things that we are trying to work on with a number of our individuals is helping people with developmental disabilities get employed. And that's been an initiative that's been in place for many, many years. To look at rates of underemployment and unemployment, the number of people with developmental disabilities, intellectual disabilities, and autism otherwise brings that curve way down. We're in the 40 to 50% underemployed rate. So, talking about unfunded mandates, a couple years ago now, the governor passed a resolution around employment first, and so it's now a mandate of organizations like the Boards of Developmental Disabilities to really ramp up our efforts to try to create new employment, community-based, minimum wage rates, and higher jobs within the community. And that's a great initiative. We support it 100%. We believe everybody should have the opportunity to work. But I think it creates some challenges, and so I was very interested in today's conversation about how to work on employment collectively. A concern that I have when I look at our organizations and some of the partners that we have in the community, we're all knocking on the same doors of those companies.
Right.
And be it around individuals that have drug or alcohol histories, or have criminal backgrounds and things like that, that prohibited them or inhibited them from getting jobs. How do we work collectively so we don't overwhelm employers and do it in more of a coordinated fashion? So, an interest of mine is to try to identify strategies within our community that help us get in the door with employers and not overwhelm them. Certainly, we all have our own interests, but do it in a way that makes it successful for all of us. Thanks, John.
We do the work assessment, which Russ mentioned, and I think we have some work assessors. I thought I saw Lori, and we have our team here, and also a new project that we're working on. Really, Sarah is here, and Sarah's part of a new project that we're working on here at the Job Center, a two-parent pilot project where both parents are getting public assistance, and they're not complying right now with their outside work requirements. So we've just entered into a pilot project agreement with Job and Family Services to try to determine why those required two-parent families are not, in fact, complying with their work requirements. So we're kind of in a different capacity. But something else that we also do is Greenleaf is the largest provider of community services for the deaf. And so we're also working statewide to remove barriers that employers are putting in place to employ people in the deaf community, often afraid to hire people who are deaf and or hard of hearing. And so we have that piece at Greenleaf as well that we're working on a statewide level to encourage employers to hire people who do not have the ability to hear.
Thanks, John. Yes.
I work at the International Institute, and we help refugees, who resettle refugees, and my department helps them define employment. So I do a lot of job development with employers to convince them of the value of hiring refugees and what they can contribute despite some barriers they might have, like carpooling or limited English language ability. And then I do post-employment follow-up to increase job retention.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, I'm Jill Risico with Tours Employment Agency up in Cleveland. We have a sector-driven career pathways program in both manufacturing and healthcare. We also have some customized employer partnerships where we're recruiting from the neighborhood to feed people into University Hospital, one of the main anchors in that neighborhood. What I'm hearing when we talk about the comment earlier, and we think about the presentation this morning and the comment that I just heard earlier about all of these different agencies trying to talk to employers, and then tying that back to what we know are best practices, which is in order to be employer-driven and the people talking to the employers, ideally, are people who understand the industry, come from the industry. And so what we're missing, I think, in many communities is that workforce intermediary and how those of us who specialize in serving particular populations aren't always experts in every industry that the people they serve are interested in. And so how do we build those connections between those who understand the industry and those who understand the population? So I think that's where that out for discussion.
It is fascinating because we had a meeting yesterday with a group of us that were in here. That was the conclusion that after about an hour and a half that the same group that was meeting yesterday came up with was this that you need to have that sector specific, that you need to have people within that knows the system. You know, I may be great at healthcare, but if you're sending me to talk to the manufacturing segment, is that going to open up any doors that are out there? You know, and so if you get somebody from manufacturing, they're more likely to have a trust bridge there than if you're, than just sending somebody from the government. One of the things that I think that I've watched over the last couple of years is that a lot of this is focused that I think employers look at that some of the things that we do, again, it's a part of a welfare system versus part of a job development and a job creation system. I met after one of our initial meetings, one of the groups that we've really never brought in has been a lot of our temp agencies. So I went and met with one of the big temp agencies in town who's placing 400 people a month out there in different manufacturing jobs throughout the town. And part of it is they built up the trust with those companies. They have a reputation, they have a history, and they're a business-to-business relationship that they go to. So it's part of how do you then bring those things back together. So, yes.
So, I'm working with refugees, and we have a lot of them at Scope. And
Yes.
I didn't know before this conference very much about the idea that they could be placed somewhere else besides Scope to fulfill that requirement. And you were talking about you have trouble establishing those relationships with companies. But I have very good relationships with a number of companies that take our refugees. So could we maybe work together to have them?
Yeah. I mean, if you need to get together with Ralph, if you get together with Ralph, one of the things that if you get the companies that are signed up to take the refugees, that will qualify for the work experience and will qualify them to continue their benefits.
Also, what if I help you sign up for a company?
Well, that's great. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about. Yeah.
Who's this person?
Ralph. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. Yeah. So if we get more employers out there that are signing more work experience contracts, if they're looking for some of the refugee population out there, that makes it a lot easier. Because there may be heritage connections or whatever else that somebody may want to take somebody from a certain nationality to bring them in.